Status of the NRO Manifesto implementation by the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, relating to basically three elements: the lands itself, the housing component, urban development and physical planning. The mandate of the ministry is to ensure rational and sustainable use, effective management of land, and orderly development of urban and rural areas, as well as safe, planned, adequate housing for the socio-economic development of Uganda for all of us. In the last elections, the NRM government, through the Ministry of Lands, made a number of commitments. Commitment number one, relating to lands, was to increase the land fund to resolve the historical dual ownership of land in Uganda. This is a historical, real situation which has existed for a long period of time. The NRM government has continuously addressed this matter. For the last 5 years of the manifesto, these are the achievements so far. The Uganda Land Commission has been able to secure land rights for lawful and bona fide occupants as follows. A, the Uganda Land Commission acquired 1,226,995.91 hectares of land from absentee landlords in the various areas of the absentee landlords. In Anikole, it acquired 9,966.34 hectares. In Uganda, ULC acquired 19,556 hectares. In Bunyoro, it acquired 79,846.21 hectares, and Toro, we acquired 17,325.98 hectares of lands from the absentee landlords. And these were now given and apportioned to the bona fide occupants. From those figures, you will note that Bunyoro is the highest figure of 79,846.21. This is because historically, this area of conflict between absentee landlords and bona fide occupants has been centered around Bunyoro. B, we processed 11,819 titles for lawful and bona fide occupants in the above stated regions. A number of the others have acquired, but the completion of the titling itself is a continuous process. C, the processing of 6,000 land titles for lawful and bona fide occupants in Kagadi and Kakumiro is underway. Number two, ULC has requested the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development and the National Planning Authority to increase the funds for the land fund. However, because of shortage of funds in the central government, the request has not been honored, but it has been considered. Our third commitment was to support customary owners register their land in accordance with the law. You know, in many parts of our country, there's customary ownership of land. And we think this, for the long term and for economic purposes, is not going to be sustainable. So government says there must be funds to make sure that this is changed. In that respect, 90,000 certificates of customer ownership, called CCOs, were produced and issued to beneficiaries in Kasese, Noya, Pade, Butaleja, Adjumani, Kisoro, Kabale, Mbale, Agago, Apache, Maracha, Soroti, Katakwi, Dokolo, Amolata, Terego, Kowoko, Moroto, Nablatuk, Kabong, Amudat, and Namtumba. In addition, 903 communal land associations were formed as legal entities to register, hold, and manage their lands communally. These are communities that opted to hold their land as a community instead of individuals acquiring the titles. So we helped to form 903 of them. Certificates of customer ownership, CCOs workflows have been developed to allow for the migration on the existing CCO records to be integrated in the National Land Information System. In other words, those will be equally registered in the National Land Information System like any other certificate of title and ownership. Our commitment number 4 in the last manifesto, in the current manifesto, was to scale up systematic demarcation in more districts for both customary and freehold land. In other words, to help our people to acquire certificates in both customary and freehold lands. The status is as follows. Wherever 125,000 freehold land titles were registered in the districts of Kiruhura, Ibanda, Rwampara, Mbarara City, and Oyamu districts through what we call the Systematic Land Adjudication and Certification Project, SLAC. There are many others, but they have not been issued out. Number 2, 346,222 parcels of land were demarcated under the SLAC project in the districts in the 19 local governments of Maracha, Apache, Soroti, Serere, Bukedia, Namtumba, Luuka, Mayuge, Jinja, Kamuli, Chikube, Ibanda, Shema, Mtungamo, Oyam, Kiruhura, Rwampara, Isingiro, and Mbarara City. Again, we have prepared number 3, 6,556 land titles through the SLAC again for the refugee holding districts of Kamwenge 801, Isingiro 473, Kiriadongo 2,176, Lamu 590, Yumbe District 1,228, Adjumani 144, Terego 712, and Obongi 503 certificates. Number 4, we have supported customer owners in 7 refugee hosting districts of Kamwenge, Isingiro, Kiriadongo, Lamu, Adjumani, Yumbe, and Terego to register their land. Number 5, under other various SLAC programs, a total of 30 districts have been covered, including Kibale, Mbale, Iganga, and Rukungiri. which were done in the first phase of the systematic demarcation program. So in total, we've covered close to 53 districts out of the 146. This is not a small number compared that this is the first time that any government is trying to do it in Uganda. Our commitment number 5 was to clean up the land registry and cancel multiple land titles on the same land and remain with the genuine ones for the people to hold as proper property. As you all recall, over time, double registration of land has been occurring. We are now cleaning this. The status is as follows. 964 land titles were cancelled, while the process of cancellation of the remaining land titles is ongoing. This is a slow process which needs to be carefully done so that people who have genuine titles or acquire them in good faith are not in any way inconvenienced. But we are determined to complete that process. We resurveyed 4 cadastral blocks in Luwero and Wakiso. The separation of combined blocks is ongoing across all affected zones. This process is part of reducing double plotting and overlapping surveys. 35 ratifications of surveys and mapping data were made across the country, across the rather 22 MZOs which are across the country. A total of 24 continuous and operating reference stations, what we call cores, have been established to improve the quality of surveys undertaken in the country. This is extremely important to make sure that in future, any person who wants to do a piece of survey of land does not create his own point of reference, but rather uses established standards. This is a big achievement. We digitized the Kalamozo and incorporated it into the LIC system. The Kalamozo is the original system of keeping land information, but we have now established a modern IT-based land information system, and we're migrating the Kalamozo to the land information system, the modern one. Commitment number 6. We also wanted to support the traditional cultural leaders in resolving customary land conflicts. And in this respect, you all know that our cultural groups and religious leaders hold vast pieces of land in the country. And these are areas of temptation for trespassing, and therefore it is very important that we support these institutions. And the president himself issued the directive to make sure that they are supported. We started with supporting the faith-based institutions to register their land. The traditional faith-based organizations like the Catholic Church, the Church of Uganda, and the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council. In Kampala, we've supported the Archdiocese of Kampala to register its pieces of land. And all over the country, we've supported the 39 provinces, Archdiocese of the Church of Uganda. And we're also supporting the Uganda Muslim Supreme Council land registration in Kampala. 2, the traditional leaders, cultural leaders, and religious leaders in Karamoja sub-region were trained in resolving customary land conflicts and land management during creation of communal land associations.